kids, right? I don't think anybody, and I'm sorry, ladies, forgive me for this, but I don't think anybody in the generation before us had to say like ask questions like how many baby fathers do you have? You know what I mean? It's something that we have to ask now because it can, and you know what I mean. That is, I don't want to
It's
say
a
it's
factor.
important. I'll
It's
say it's
That is a
important.
important.
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
So, but it's not a question that they had to ask even one generation ago.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
That's a good point.
it's just a different game out here now. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And you have to know
Yeah.
what you want, what you're willing to deal with, what you. I look me personally. I've already decided that like I don't want. Oh, I don't mind a woman with kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But two, three maybe.
You gotta really love that woman for
I
three.
gotta really like you for three, or I make a concession for twins. If you got like a kid and then a set of twins,
Okay.
all right, cool. That's two pregnancies, right? So
Like,
you see what I'm saying? You have it's equations you got to do in your
that's
own
real
head
though.
to know what
Wow.
you're going to be willing to deal with, right?
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
fathers? If you got three kids, three fathers, that's a problem.
Mm.
That's a problem.
Hey,
You got
it goes
three
both
kids, one
ways. It
father.
goes
Now,
both
okay, you
ways.
got some. You show me something different. So
It
Mm-hmm.
goes both ways. You got a lot of men
it
out
does go
there
both
with
ways. But
Sure
what I'm
does.
saying is
lots of
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
baby
Yeah.
I
mamas.
agree.
you have to
Yeah.
Like,
know
oh,
yourself enough to know what you want and kind of be
Mm-hmm.
realistic about what's out there. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
exactly.
That's all I'm saying. Because you're
Yeah,
not gonna
and
find.
I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I don't think it means that. I don't think we're being too picky. I
Mm-hmm.
think that as you grow and mature, you start to understand more about what's going to work for you
Mm-hmm.
and what really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not
Well,
going to settle as much as you might have when you were younger because you've already had your children 9 times
I'm
out of
not
10.
talking
You've
about y'all
already
in
been
particular though,
married.
twin.
So settling the mindset to settle, I feel like is when you're a little bit younger because you're like, well, the biological clock might be ticking, or you feel like, well, nobody's perfect. I can deal with this, I can deal with that. But as you get older and as you've already lived certain uh, points in life,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking, nah, I don't think I'm gonna deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Well,
I don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
think that's gonna
but
work for me.
okay,
Yeah.
and
So I
I
don't know. I
appreciate.
don't know that that's necessarily picky.
Well, I
It can
appreciate
be.
that,
That's
but let
what
me.
you're
But
gonna
G,
do.
go ahead.
No,
I wanna give you the reason why I said that. But go ahead, G.
no, I was just agreeing. Like it's just about it's like your standards. Like, and you don't have to put up with certain stuff. You just don't have to. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Even going back to the different several baby daddies or whatever. Like
Or
on my
moms.
side, like
Or moms.
or moms, right?
Yep.
Like I'm okay if you have more than one baby mama. But the real question for me would be, okay, do you have drama with these women? Do I have to look out for something coming my way? You know what I mean? Like that's a
Are you
different
taking
story
care
too.
of your children?
That part,
That's
yes,
a
Yo,
that's so
huge
important
Big
too.
big
yo,
question
question.
Yeah,
Big question.
yeah.
because that
that you
says a
know
lot
what?
about
So
your character.
That's
yeah, oh yeah,
that's a big one
yeah,
right there. I remember I used to work with this
yeah.
girl, and she was cool, just like good friend, and she used to be with this guy, and she was dating this guy for like a few years. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? At that time, we were in our late 20s, early 30s, and she was dating this guy, and he had two different kids with two different women,
Mm-hmm.
right, at the time. So she started to become kind of stepmomish, right? And um I remember telling her, so after a few years, she thought she was going to marry this guy, right? And then I was like kind of just observing. We used to work together. So she was like he wanted to, take the condom off and maybe, have another child. And she
Mm-hmm.
that after a couple years, she's like, "Wait a minute," because not that he wasn't taking care of the other two kids, but you already have two different kids, two different moms, and it's kind of like, yo, at a certain point, again, I'm not saying this from some pretentious married point of view, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, you can't have two kids, two baby moms, and you with another woman. Yo, you gotta marry. You gotta. I'm not talking about marry that woman. If you don't want to go to the courthouse, whatever. I'm just talking about you gotta solidify that relationship to have a household.
Yeah.
You gotta make a decision at a
Mm-hmm.
certain point, and I think that I agree with that because if you that is a big sign. If you not taking care of your kids, or you're not having a solidified plan for how a household is going to be, you don't need to have no more
Let,
kids,
let,
yo.
let me
Mhm.
give
Telling
y'all
that.
Yeah.
let me give
Yeah.
y'all the other side of that though. As the father, the single father who raises his kid alone, right?
Mhm.
They a lot of women will say it sounds good, right? On paper, it sounds good. But when you get to the point where you're dealing with the father who's raising his kid alone, gets a little murky there, gets a little shaky because now, you know what I mean, you're not
What you mean?
number one priority, right? Priority is raising the kid. So
Mhm.
Mm,
you say you want the person who takes care of that father until you get somebody who really takes care of their kid, and it's like, where do I
mm,
fit in?
Good
You know what I
point.
mean? It's like, so
Well,
there's
but
the
Mhm.
then
other
what?
side to
Where?
that coin.
That's
I'm just saying.
true.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
But
Yeah.
then that comes down to,
Mhm.
again, what is her situation?
Mm-hmm.
Does she have kids?
Mm,
If she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have kids, she might not understand
true.
your um, prioritization
But it's not so
of
much.
your
It's
she needs to understand.
she
She should
needs to
understand
understand it,
if
but it's
she's
also the
mature.
fact
Yeah.
that going back to what we talk about societal norms, people are so used to the mom raising the kid that when they see the father actually doing it, it doesn't. It's a different kind of like it's just thought of
Mhm.
different, and it's not.
Gotcha.
We don't necessarily we're not used to that so much, so that
Yeah.
it's just like I said, it's just a weird place. You kind of I've
Yo,
seen it
I don't know. I think
I
there
never
is
I
definitely a huge category of women who see that as heroic and admirable.
until they're trying to until it's like time to date that person and it's like yo I can't necessarily go out with you this week I gotta what I mean when if I tell you I ain't got no babysitter and that's when my kid was little now we good but
Yeah.
I ain't got a sitter I'm here with the kid you know what I mean like
Yeah.
no
Well,
that's
then
that
again,
but you know
it
what though,
comes
but
down
we
to
gotta
her
we
situation as well.
what
Because
I'm
if
saying
she's in
is
the
that
same boat,
it's
she's gonna
only
understand.
so a lot and I'm just speaking about my experience but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily as easily accepted as a woman taking care of the kid. Make
Mhm.
sense?
I'm
So,
glad you said that, B, because that
Interesting.
experience right there is like you're right. I think a lot of times
Mhm.
that doesn't seem like something that actually happens, but the fact you saying that, it's like, yo, there is. You think that women would be like, yo, that is so great. You're such a great dad. But
Mhm.
some people, when it come down to it, they again,
mm-hmm.
it's about not getting that level of number one priority
Yep.
attention.
Mhm.
And it's easy to say you admire it till you have to actually
You
live it.
actually
You
living
know what I'm
it.
saying?
Yep.
I
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So,
Yeah,
saying?
but
So, you
I
know,
mean, that,
Mhm.
I totally agree with that. But I think,
Mhm.
from somebody who's raising kids alone, who fully understands what you're going through, because I feel like I've dealt with that, just in, you know, a little chatting here and there with different guys, especially at my age. I've been shamed a lot for being my age and having young children. I had a guy
Mhm.
ask me flat out, "You're 48. What are you doing with a 5 and a 6 year old?" And it's like, wow,
What kind of questions is
okay.
that?
And so, for even
ridiculous.
though for women,
Yeah.
right,
that's
it's
wild. Yeah.
just like, wow, you're gonna mom shame me.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not answering that question, and no, I
Right.
don't want to talk to you. So that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I feel like even though it's more maybe from your perspective acceptable, or people are so used to the mom raising the kid,
Mhm.
these days you get a lot of flack and a lot of lack of understanding, and a lot of men who don't want to date you
Mm.
because you have young kids and you don't have the time to devote to them. It's like, well, I don't have a sitter, so
Mhm.
no, I'm not going out with you. I am not one of
Yeah.
those women that puts some dude above my children.
Mhm.
So no, if I don't have a sitter, no, I can't go out with you. Or you know what, I can't talk on the phone with you right now because I got a child screaming for help from the
Mhm.
bathroom.
Yeah.
So,
But
you
that
know what I'm saying?
that
So
Yeah.
it
speaks
goes both
to
ways.
that it all to me, and that speaks to, I would think that speaks to their level of, that's how you separate the men from the boys with that right
Right.
there. And I'm just, I've been in
Absolutely.
situations where I've dated um women who have kids, and if I really want to see that person, bring the kid. Let's go do something that's kid centered, because I'm trying to get to know you, right? And that's
Right.
not to say that every woman wants to have their kids around when they're starting to date somebody, but this, I'm not talking about
Right.
people like first date type stuff, but um,
Right. Right.
bring the kid.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Or I have no problem saying I'll pay for your sitter. You know what I mean? And then we can go out because I'm asking you out, right? So